Welcome to the Connor's Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. When I was a kid growing up, my favorite impressionist was Rich Little. And I understand now he has a book coming out, People I Have Known and Been, and we're very pleased to have Mr. Little with us. How you doing today, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Mike Connors. I did your show back in the 70s.
Right. Well, he's been in our show, too, but his real name is Cracker Ohanian, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it really?
Yeah, my name is Mike Connors, but his name's Cracker Ohanian. Okay.
He stole your name, huh?
Yes, he did. You know, he apologized for it on the air, but he said at least he stole the name of a nice guy.
Well, he must be getting up there, I guess, huh?
He's in his 90s now, yes.
Is he really? Gosh, I haven't seen him in years and years and years, but I did do the show back in the 70s. He was quite the detective.
Right, that was Mannix.
Yeah, Mannix, right, exactly. Yeah, that was a great time for me, yeah. Well, thank you for talking about the book. The book is kind of exciting for me. I've never put out a book before. And it's not a bio. It's really the funny things that have happened with me and a lot of the people I've worked with over the years. And I talk about Sinatra and Bing Crosby and Ed Sullivan and Dean Martin and George Burns and John Wayne, a lot of people.
One thing today, if somebody were starting out as an impressionist today, they don't have the variety of voices and talents that you were able to use and entertain us with.
Well, I came along at the right time. First of all, variety shows were very popular in the 70s, and there were a lot of them. I did one almost every week, and now there I don't think there's any. But and then also, it was easier for me when I was younger to imitate movie stars and comedians because they were larger than life. They were easily identifiable, and today it's a lot tougher. We get good actors today on the screen, but we haven't got voices like we used to.
Do you have any opinion why that is? Why were the personalities from the movie actors of the 40s and 50s and 60s who you did such a great job of? Why were their individual personalities, and today it doesn't seem to be that way?
Yeah. As I said, they're good actors, but they're not as larger than life. And Clark Gable was larger than life, and John Wayne and Humphrey Bogart and Jimmy Stewart, and it was just harder to do movie stars today. I mean, how do you do George Clooney, or how do you imitate Matt Damon or Brad Pitt? I mean, gosh, I'd rather do Angelina Jolie, actually. She's available. Boy, if I could do her, I'd never be lonely, would I? I'd end up jumping myself. But anyway, my point was that they're just not as colorful and just not as distinctive, the actors of today.
Who were some of the favorite personalities that you knew and have been, so to speak?
Well, I've been very fortunate to know a lot of people, not personally. I knew Jimmy Stewart quite well, more than anybody else, and I knew Ronald Reagan quite well because I spent a lot of time with him and performed at the White House a lot, and we became very friendly. The other people just came in and out of my life, depending on what shows I did, Jackie Gleason, I worked with him a couple of times, but, and Lucille Ball and Orson Welles, and, you just do a show with them and get involved with them, and then you move on. So, I wasn't personally involved with many, Now,
again, you did probably the best, if Ronald Reagan, that anybody ever came up with.
Well, Bill O'Reilly didn't think so because they cast somebody else to play Reagan in this Killing Reagan movie, which I auditioned for, and they said they were going with an actor. I don't know what they thought I was. I didn't see it. It wasn't Sour Grapes, but I heard a little bit of it, and he didn't sound like him at all. So, that kind of put me off. If the guy was good, I'd be the first to admit it. Hey, they got a good guy playing Reagan or Nixon or or anybody, any former president that I knew and imitated. If they were good, I wouldn't have any problem with it. But, a lot of the times they cast people because they're well known or they're good looking or whatever, and they forget about the accuracy of doing somebody, dead on. It was interesting that Bryan Cranston played Dalton Turnbull and sounded exactly like him, except that nobody knows what Dalton Turnbull sounds like.
Why, did you know Dalton Turnbull?
I thought that was incredible. I thought that was incredible that he actually did an impression of Dalton Turnbull, and nobody knows, that much about him, but it shows you the work he put into it, and I admire that greatly.
How did you get into your profession?
How did I get into the profession? Well, I started imitating teachers at school when I was a kid, and that got a good reaction, and I knew it was going to be my lifetime work because it wasn't long before the teachers were charging a 2-drink minimum and a cover charge. But I did my teachers and saw the reaction that got. So then I started doing local politicians. This is in Canada because I'm a Canadian. I come from Ottawa. And I started imitating, local politicians and some movie stars and just built from there and started performing in coffee houses and clubs and doing conventions and private parties and things in Canada. And then I met Mel Torme, who I did a television show with in Toronto. And Mel, not only a great singer, great musician, but a great movie buff. And I put all my voices, or a lot of them, on a tape, and he played it for Judy Garland. And she booked me on the show, on the Judy Garland show, and that started my career in the U.S.
What impression have you given that ignites the audience the most, or where you get your most applause from?
Well, I'm probably known for a few voices. Richard Nixon, of course, Richard Nixon. I'm starting, after looking at Hillary Clinton's emails, I'm starting to look pretty good. and Reagan, Reagan's another one that I'm well known for. And well, yes, Reagan had that. He once said to me, Rich, you do me better than I do, so you should become president. And I said, well, thank you, sir. That's a great compliment, but I couldn't be president. I'm a Canadian. He said, I know. I can fix that. But and then Johnny Carson, of course, was a big impression for me. That did a lot for me. Going on a show and hosting it, and Johnny was a big part of my act. And sometimes after doing a show and doing Johnny Carson, I find myself going to the dressing room and writing out an alimony check.
Now, you said you knew Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, I knew Jimmy Stewart quite well. We did a lot of TV shows together and a lot of charity things together. And I spent a lot of time with him. And, his wife, Gloria, who was a Spitfire, she always worked the room. And Jimmy and I would sit in the corner and talk and about his career. And some wonderful times with Jimmy. And then finally he said to me, Gloria wants to go home, Rich. I'm out of here.
Was there ever a personality who criticized you for your impression?
Well, Paul Lynde from Hollywood Squares never liked my impression. I mean, I would do them on Hollywood Squares and on a Dean Martin roast. They cut to a shot of Paul's reaction, and there wasn't any. He'd just sit there and go, "Who's he doing? Who's that? I'll get a day job. That's disgusting." For some strange reason, he just didn't like my impression of him. And it was kind of funny, actually, because you got no reaction from him. But Paul had a lot of problems, and he died much too soon. But he was funny. He was a very funny man, Paul Lynde. Boy, sometimes we'd almost fall out of the square because of Paul Lynde. We lost a lot of good people on that show.
Okay, so the name of the book is Little by Little, People I Have Known and Been. Why did you write the book? What do you want the reader to get out of it?
Well, it isn't a bio, and my voice is very, very staticky today. I think I've got Kermit the Frog in my voice. Well, no. Anyway, I wrote it because I kept a diary and wrote down a lot of funny things that happened with celebrities. You know, when I would do a show or meet somebody, I'd write something down. So I had a lot of material, and I thought, you know, I could do a book out of this, and it wouldn't be a biography. You know, I don't think anybody would be that interested in my personal life because it probably wasn't colorful enough. But I did have all these stories, and so, you know, I started slowly writing this book. And then I would think of other things and put them in, and then have it verified by some people that were there. And I think it's pretty accurate, although there's a couple of stories in there that are a little hard to believe, but they did happen. They did happen. Like the time Betty Davis swore at the president and hung up because she thought it was me. No, she thought it was me. Yeah, and the president phoned her up. It's a long story, but I'm giving you the short version. I had phoned Betty Davis to put her on and tell her we missed her at the inauguration, and I phoned her up as Reagan, and she was not amused at all that it was me doing it, and she hung up and she swore at me, and then when I met Reagan said he'd straighten that out, so he called her back, and when he got her on the phone, she told him off and hung up. It's a true story.
Did she ever find out?
No, she never found out. No, she went to her grave not knowing that she told the President of the United States to, you know what? She never knew that. Never found that out. And Reagan said to me, Rich, I think we'll let this go. It's not going to work. She thinks it's you.
Now, wait, they were in a film together way back when, right?
Yeah, let me think. They made a couple of movies together. I think he was in Dark Victory.
Right, that's the name of it, yes.
I think so. They made a couple of early movies with him, you know. So he was friendly with her, and you know, he used to tell me that she had a great sense of humor. Well, apparently not. We found out the hard way. But those kind of stories are in my book. I mean, I've got some really funny stories about Jack Benny and George Burns that are really, you know, classic stories because if you know anything about them, you know, I think you'll say to yourself, "Oh yeah, I can see that happening." You know, I mean, Jack one time did the Tonight Show when I was hosting, and he told me when the show was over, he said, Rich, the only reason I did the show was I wanted to come out to NBC because they've got the greatest chicken soup in the commissary. You know, he was more interested in the soup than doing the show. And then George Burns one time said to me, Rich, you do me better than I do. So I'm going to send you all my bills.
Can a younger person today, where can they see Rich Little?
Well, I'm appearing at the Tropicana in Las Vegas. I've been there over a year, and I'm at the Laugh Factory, and I do an hour show, and Monday through Friday, and it's going great because I show a lot of clips of the real people. I imitate people and then show myself with them. And then I show a lot of my art because I sketch a lot. So I've done that all my life. So I have a lot of portraits that I put in the show too. So it's kind of a mini history of my career if you come and see me at the Trop. And having a great time, and the audiences have been terrific. Of course, it has to be an older crowd, you know, and I see young people in the audience. I say to myself, they probably don't know any of these people, you know. I had a 15-year-old kid in the show the other night, and it kind of bothered me because I knew he didn't know who Dean Martin was or Frank Sinatra or Jimmy Stewart, but he was laughing during the whole show, just killing himself laughing, and I couldn't figure it out. And then when the show was over, he hung around, and I said, "Gee, you seem to enjoy my show. I'm delighted and surprised." He said, "Well, Mr. Little, you're very funny. I did, but I'm confused." And I said, "You're confused about what?" He said, I was wondering during the show why you kept changing your voice."
Well, listen, a lot of these kids have to see these guys on Turner Classic Movies or some of the other shows.
Yeah, or or they can, you can see anything on YouTube now. You can bring up old shows, and I know some young people are interested in the past, and I'll get some people in there who do know most of my people, and other young people, they're only interested in their phone and their laptop and their music, and that they would be a tough audience. But once in a while, I get somebody who is interested in the past, and that's great when that happens. Thrilling, really.
Well, I look forward to going out there and seeing the show someday, but the name of the book in the meanwhile is Little by Little, People I Have Known and Been by Rich Little. And thank you very much for being on the show.
And you can get it on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
If it isn't in the bookstore, they should put it in. I'll come down and I'll come down and restock the place with all my books. I've got 3,000 of them here.
Thank you,
Guinness. Thank you for calling me, and thanks for plugging the book. And I hope to see you one day. If you get to Vegas, come by and see us. I should be still there. I might be in a walker, but I'll be there.
Very good.